Happy 4th of July, motherfuckers. And it's time for your Raw review. So, this build up for this show, I've been listening to Russo's podcast lately, and, everything this man says is absolutely true. This show has a formula that's broken. It's not like there's not good stuff on this show. There's good stuff, but it's not enough. And we see it right from the start. Right from the start of the show, we kick it off with the Enzo promo. And Enzo here, he's fiery. He's showing charisma. He's showing that, he deserves a spot on the roster. I mean, this is a guy that he absolutely shows more passion than somebody like Fuckboy Balor. Shows more passion than Sammy Bitch Boy Cab Driver Zayn. I mean, it's quite obvious that a guy like Enzo deserves his spot. He's got charisma, passion, fiery energy. He's not that big, he's not that intimidating, but he's got a unique look. And you got a lot of these jobbers are bashing him. This is why they can't listen to the marks. The marks were complaining about Enzo and Cass. At least the marks had good taste at first, but they always do this. They are clamoring for Enzo and Cass, and rightfully so. A charismatic team, a team that had some credibility in NXT. And it was like, why wouldn't you bring these guys up from developmental? You guys needed charismatic stars. You guys needed characters. So they were right to demand WWE to bring these guys up from NXT. They get there, and then, after a couple of months, oh, Enzo's annoying. The shtick is getting old. Of course, I agree with that. They can't keep doing the same thing over and over. It's going to get tiresome, but that's not their fault. These guys already got themselves over. How much more are these guys supposed to come up with? That's why they pay these writers. You ever ask yourself that question? Why does McMahon pay these writers? All these writers do are they're just obviously yes men. Many people have confirmed that this is a McMahon style of show. All the humor is McMahon. All the matches and storyline and putting the show together is just in the style of McMahon. You can clearly see, because you see a similarity of the way how they used to book this show to the pre-Russo era. Everything that you saw in the Ruthless Aggression era was carried over from the way that they wrote things during the Attitude era. You hear firecrackers going off in the background. I'm sure if my mic picked that up, but the 4th of July celebration is still going on, but we're not celebrating this Raw. Not just yet. So you see, they're writing the same style, but why do they pay these writers? All they're doing is the same thing. There's no new ideas being introduced once in a while. It's mostly, if a segment is good, it's because the characters are getting the segments over. The most charismatic guys are having the best segments. You can clearly see that. It's because they have natural charisma. Now, once in a while, you get something good. The writers might hit on something, but you see, it ends like right after this promo. Enzo and Cass, they ballad out in the back. Cass is watching it on the monitor. Enzo jumps him, and they start pulling him apart. Fireworks. And they pull them apart, and right after that, that's it. You don't see them for the rest of the show. And this is true. It's the same thing every show. Why can't we go back to Enzo and Cass? Why is everybody in their own little world? How come we can't go back, to see what's going on later on in the show? You can't have another interview with Enzo, some continuation. Like I said, whatever happened to the classic parking lot brawl that they used to have? Whatever happened to these brawls that these guys used to have? There's never anything in the back. You never see anything in the hallways anymore. If anything takes place, it has to take place in the ring, barely in the locker room anymore. You don't see guys. This was something Russo was reviewing an old Raw, the one where Undertaker kidnapped Stephanie and tried to marry her in the Dark Ritual, a classic Raw. And they said that, they haven't done these things like where The Rock is getting ready for his match with Shane. You don't see that anymore. You don't see these shots of like guys in the hallways, the interviewer knocking on the dressing room. He didn't mention that, but I was even thinking about it. I was thinking back to all these old Raws that I was watching on the network, and they don't go back to these old things anymore. Like you've got all these old ideas that you could go back to that you haven't done for years, and they're still never going back to them. Don't they ever say, "Oh, wouldn't it be great if we go back?" No, I guess these things are not allowed. They don't think of it, or McMahon doesn't want it for some reason. He's afraid to deviate from the formula. He admitted this on the Stone Cold podcast. They're afraid to deviate from the formula. Triple H also elaborated on that more. And why? It's not like things are going great for them. They're not getting any new business or anything. They're making money, but they're remaining stagnant. The quality of the show is not improving. The ratings are not going up. They're satisfied with having their same old 2 million something fans and never getting anybody new, still catering to the niche audience. Let's move on. So we got Sasha Banks and Bayley defeating Alexa Bliss and Nia Jax. And, of course, Sasha Banks, the boss, the ghetto girl, getting the win over Bliss. And why? Like right before the pay-per-view, we've got the same formula. The challenger gets the win over the champion. Why did champions always lose? It's almost a joke, and it's something that the marks complain about a lot on YouTube and the YWC, and they're absolutely correct. Why did champions always lose on these shows? This is another thing that has to be addressed here. Why do they always lose on every single damn show? Champions can never win for some reason. It's the same thing when somebody wins the Money in the Bank. They have to keep jobbing out. The thing is, if you won the Money in the Bank, that would mean that you should be a winner. This is something they haven't done since Edge won the briefcase. He was like the only one who still remained the winner. Even after he won the briefcase, everybody else automatically became a jobber. I don't know what it's supposed to be, so it would make them more unlikely to win the belt, but winning the Money in the Bank briefcase means it. This is something we see champions, Money in the Bank winners, they all become losers. So they've won a belt to prove that they're better than everybody else, but then they start losing. So that means that they shouldn't have gotten it in the first place. And I never understand this, and they always lose when the title is not on the line, but they'll win when the title's on the line. This formulaic bullshit gets annoying, and they've been doing this for years and years. Why are they stuck on the same formula? Like, can anybody explain why this is? It's not making it predictable, obviously, by me talking about this in retrospect and seeing what's been going on for the last few years. It's not unpredictable anymore. It's very predictable. It's very stupid, and it's not entertaining to watch a champion and a character get destroyed. These people's characters are exploding like these fucking fireworks, basically. It's like the fucking product. So then you had this split. No, the interview wasn't yet, but they had a package with Samoa Joe and Lesnar. It was an okay package. Instead of getting this package, why aren't we getting more of Lesnar and Brock? Instead we're watching what happened for like 5 minutes. Oh, this is what happened. Oh, okay, great. The announcers could mention what happened. They could show a brief little video. But the WWE is obsessed with these long video packages, especially lately. They've been going to these video packages that take forever to get through. It's not like they're bad. WWE's got some of the best production. You can clearly see these video packages are well put together. They probably take forever to do, so you can't knock them for that. But instead of playing back this old content, how about giving us some new fucking content and expanding on the storyline, expanding on the feud? We would later on in the show, but why can't we get more throughout the show? Like, where are the hooks? This is like what Russo's been saying. Where are the fucking hooks? What keeps people coming back? What keeps them from stopping to change the channel? You know, you people watch this show obsessed with fucking wrestling. You know, because it's wrestling, you're going to watch the whole show. You know, you're a big fan, as am I. You know, and you want to see what's going to happen on the show. But everybody else, you know, who's not obsessed and, you know, watching this show. And I'll be honest here, if I wasn't into doing these reviews on YouTube, you know, if I didn't, you know, a lot of times I have more fun doing these reviews, talking to you guys, than watching the show. I don't enjoy watching this show anymore. Let's be perfectly honest. I'm curious. I like to see what's going on. But if I didn't have this platform here on YouTube to do a little video, and I'm small fish here on YouTube, obviously. I'm not going to talk a big game. But if I didn't have YouTube as an outlet to talk about the show, I wouldn't be watching this show. You know, I enjoy doing these videos and entertaining people. People like to hear my thoughts, and people, you know, hate on me in the same breath, but I wouldn't be watching this show. It's a waste of time. It's very poor quality. You know, I would probably skim through it on YouTube to see what's going on every now and then, but I wouldn't be talking about it. Now, think about everybody else who's watching way more entertaining shit on TV. You know, even programs I don't care about, but there's a lot of choices on TV. You could say, oh, there's nothing good to watch, but check the ratings. Many people are watching TV, and that's what cracks me up about people arguing about the product all the time. Oh, people DVR stuff. Oh, really? Well, have you seen the ratings for Law and Order and for The Walking Dead and all these other shows that are on TV? How come they have such high ratings for the first time that the show is broadcast on live television? These people are not always DVRing it. These people are not watching it on the internet. These guys are not watching it on Hulu. No, these people are actually turning on the TV and watching it the first time it airs because the shows are good. These people are fans of the shows and they want to watch those shows. People are not watching WWE because it fucking sucks. That's exactly the reason why. And yeah, you could say that maybe a couple of thousand people are recording it because they're not home that night. They're working or whatever. Or they don't want to watch it at that moment in time. But the fact is that they never want to watch it. That's why they're not watching it. That's why the ratings are low. What a ridiculous excuse. YWC and the Marks and all these hardcore fans like to come up with excuses of why the product is not highly rated. And they use the excuse of technology. Oh, technology is responsible. Yeah, anything they could do to try to avoid the fact that the show is just plain fucking shit. They don't want to admit to that fact. Because there's no way a show can suck as long as it's got fuckboy Balor on it. Right, guys? Right? Yeah. Anyway, nice package there. Cedric Alexander defeated Noam Dar. This is a feud, and we have to give credit where credit's due. Alicia Fox is the most entertaining one here. You know, she's getting in Cedric Alexander's face and, you know, trying to be annoying and shit. They're having a little storyline here, but for people who don't watch 205 Live, nobody knows what the fuck is going on here. And does anybody really care what's going on here? Does anybody for one moment say, oh man, I can't wait to see what's going to happen with Cedric Alexander and Noam Dar? And your friend's going to look at you and say, who the fuck are you talking about? Noam Dar. Noam Chomsky? No, Noam Dar. Like I said, I've been saying this for a while now. This guy's name, Noam Dar. Who the fuck came up with that name? And McMahon, you know, McMahon loves to rename and put his own stamp of approval on people and likes to change names all the time. Why is this guy allowed to go out there with a goofball name like Noam Dar? What kind of a name is this? I mean, are we joking here? Are we supposed to take a guy that looks like Noam Dar and a guy that has a name, Noam Dar, seriously? Are there Noam Dar fans out there? Are there people that believe that this guy deserves to be a champion in this company? Do they really think that a guy like Noam Dar deserves a spot in the biggest wrestling company on the planet? Is this something that we really were asking for? I mean, I'm like thinking back to, people like, just maybe we'll go back like a decade when McMahon liked guys like Chris Masters, for example. The guy didn't have a lot of experience, but he had a look. You didn't want to mess with a guy that had a build like Chris Masters because the guy was jacked to fuck. And you could say he's on steroids all you want, but you take a look at a guy like Noam Dar 10 years later, and you're like, what the fuck happened here? What happened to McMahon's, hiring decisions? He gets a weak looking beta male like Noam Dar, and he's traded in all these alpha males. It has, you know, he finally gave in to all the fans who says, I don't like these guys on steroids, Well, now wrestling has stopped having all these alpha males and all these guys that actually look like they could kick somebody's ass, and they've been traded in for the Noam Dars of the world. I mean, what a fucking joke. I mean, you turn this TV on. You say you didn't watch Raw for years and years. You were getting tired of this product, say, during the Ruthless Aggression era. Oh, I missed the Stone Colds and the Rocks. It wasn't good for years. And you're like, years later, you're like, oh, let me turn this product on again and see what's going on, because I haven't seen Raw in a while. Maybe they've got things back on track. Maybe they got that attitude back. You turn the TV back on, you switch the channel on to Raw to see what McMahon's been cooking for all those years, and you just so happen to land on the Noam Dar match. And you're going to probably never watch the show again. Just saying. We got Miz TV again, and I like the way that they've got Bo Dallas looking. They've kind of changed the look of these guys. They've made them seem like they matter a little bit more just by changing the way how they look a bit. So you got Miz making fun of Dean Ambrose, and I gotta say that this almost sounded a bit like a shoot promo. Dean Ambrose is a joke. I mean, here's a guy, like I've said, they put the belt on this guy. He didn't look like a champion. I'm not saying that everybody has to look the same, but I've said that this is the guy they gave the belt to. Wasn't ready to be champion. Probably didn't look like he was ever ready to be champion. Then all of a sudden, they take the belt off of him, and it's almost like it never happened. I mean, this is a career where they really have no idea what to do with Ambrose, so they're sticking him in what seems like an endless feud with The Miz. I mean, honestly, has this feud been going on for like 3 fucking years? How long has this feud been going on for? I mean, I feel like these guys have been feuding for eternity. It just shows like this. It's the same thing week after week. It's an episode of Miz TV on Raw. Dean Ambrose comes out, attempts to be funny, fails at doing that. So we've got Heath Slater coming out with Rhino. Slater says that he pinned Miz last week, so he actually deserves a shot. So he comes out, and Kurt Angle makes a match. Finally, Kurt Angle actually makes a match. Not Titus O'Neil making a match, but we've actually got Kurt Angle doing his job for a change. And oh, wow, what a concept. The GM making a match like he's there for a reason. Makes a match, and this is a pretty good match, actually. I've said this for years. I don't know what happened when they what happened with Heath Slater and Rhino. They had a good thing going on SmackDown. They were giving these guys good material. It was entertaining. And then they just kind of went off the rails with them. Like, they just kind of gave up. Like, oh, it's too entertaining. We can't think of any more things to do. I mean, it's really sad when you think about these. It doesn't matter if it's Raw or SmackDown. That's bullshit. Let's be honest. Raw and SmackDown are equal. The only thing that makes SmackDown better is that it's not as long, so it's not as painful. Let's be perfectly honest there. Once in a while, the booking style might be slightly different. It does. SmackDown has a slightly different feel because you've got Brian James, Road Dogg, booking things over there. So there's a bit of a different style. But at the end of the day, it's the same shit. I mean, really, it's the same formulaic approach. Nothing is woven throughout the show. Like I said, it's same thing with Jinder Mahal on that show. We're putting Jinder in the middle of the show, and then he disappears for the rest of it. It's the same setup. So Miz beats Slater. They made it look like Slater was going to win, and I kind of got a feeling that's about it for Slater. Like, they're going to just, any heat that the guy was already on, I think that they probably just killed it here just by having him lose. Not saying that the guy should have beaten Miz here, but they don't know how to sustain anybody here in this company. Like, you got a guy like Slater who's obviously very charismatic. He's got a character. He's got a goofy personality. And, he could be something, but all these years, like he said, he's been in this company for 8 years or so. And he's really amounted to nothing. They haven't done fucking shit with him. And it's obvious that a guy like Slater, a guy that they try to make into a joke, the guy's got more charisma than Sami Zayn or Balor or Samoa Joe, for God's sakes. I mean, think about it. Put Joe, side by side with Slater. First of all, Slater is actually in shape. He's not a fat ass like Joe. And when they cut a promo, when Slater came out, who was actually more exciting? I would say it was Slater. That's just my opinion. I think that Slater's a lot less cookie cutter, acting a little bit less like the cookie cutter wrestler type. With the serious face, the guy actually has facial expressions. He's not a one-dimensional, stone-faced goofball. So, there's potential in Slater, but like I said, they have no idea how to handle a guy like that. Very sad. Goldust has a premiere. He's sitting in his director's chair. Good presentation here. Truth comes up from behind him and attacks him. I really want to see. I've been saying this since they've had Goldust return with Cody Rhodes. There was a lot of potential. I'm not going to go back and say the same thing I said 1,000 times, that they could have had a huge ass feud with Cody and Goldust. It could have been a beautiful thing. But Goldust is still, he's older, but he's still able-bodied. He's still in the best shape of his career. This guy was, getting noticed, busting out hurricanranas, doing shit that he wasn't doing earlier in his career. And, they just failed with him, basically. They had no idea how to book a guy that actually has charisma, cuts a promo. Listen to this guy on the mic. He is light years ahead of all the rest of the guys. And, judge, if we went by charisma and character, this guy should be in the world title picture. Let's be quite honest. This is not. He shouldn't be in such a low tire feud. I mean, this guy shows more charisma, more passion. I really hope that they still continue on with Goldust. But like I said, I've got little hope. I'm just being realistic here. After years and years of them doing absolutely nothing with Goldust, what makes us think that, several years later, they're actually going to finally do something meaningful with this guy? Seth Rollins defeats Hawkins. Hawkins cuts a little promo on him, beats him in under a minute. Like I said, what is the point of Hawkins? Like I said, another guy that shows charisma, tries to have a character, and they just make him into a joke. When once again, Hawkins is out there showing more personality than the guy who beats him. I mean, like, and meanwhile, Wade Keller is praising the post match promo of Seth Rollins, which is a bland, babyface, cookie cutter, vanilla ass promo. And Wade Keller is praising Rollins for this. Praising just nonsense. Praising stuff that we've heard 1,000 times before. And he's trying to dish out this bullshit that people like impassioned the promos for, with a baby face. Like, is this guy talking for everybody? Wade Keller is supposed to be like maybe the second most popular wrestling journalist after Meltzer Magoo. And you're telling me that this guy that represents wrestling fans, I mean, this is a joke. I'm a wrestling journalist, guys. No, you're a fucking joke. I mean, impassioned babyface promos. That was a boring ass promo. Seth Rollins is a talented guy in the ring, but let's face it, the guy needs work. They need to give this guy better verbiage on the mic because he sounds like a fucking nerd. Let's be honest. He sounds like a dork. He sounds like a geekwad. I mean, if we're talking about who sounds tougher on the mic, I'd say it's a tie between him and TJ Nurkins. TJP. I mean, I see no difference with those guys on the mic. Both of them sound like fucking nerds on the mic. They don't sound tough. They sound like goofballs. I mean, what the hell is this? You're not a god, Bray. I mean, like, no. This is not. Seth Rollins was doing better on the mic as a heel. Not saying that it was exceptional, like, mic work, but I mean, man, this is bad. I mean, the stuff they're writing for him, it's like they're not even trying. They're writing for him like, like a comic book superhero, just, very plain and vanilla shit that anybody could say. This is what a good guy would say. I mean, it's so straightforward, like you can have a 10-year-old write this in fucking third grade. It takes no ability or talent to write this shit. Then you had the split screen interview between Joe and Brock Lesnar. And I will give Fat Boy Joe his credit. He showed more passion here. He was getting excited, and I was like, I enjoy this. But once again, I have to ask myself this question. Why are we doing a split screen interview right before a fucking pay-per-view? I mean, when things are about to come to a head, shouldn't we actually be seeing these guys? Why are they separated in little rooms? Joe gets excited, and I love Lesnar just laughing him off, because if I had to fight an unfit fat boy like Joe, I'd be laughing at him too. If I was like Lesnar and had the body of a god, why a fat boy, he put down the fucking cotton candy for 1 minute to cut a halfway decent promo on Brock. I'd be laughing at him too. Because I knew, the reason why Joe was so angry is because he had to stop eating for 5 minutes to cut this segment. I mean, I'd be angry too if I was a fat boy like Joe and I wasn't able to eat for a whole 5 minutes. So, Joe gets up. He starts looking for Lesnar. He finds Lesnar in a room. And I don't know why, but I found this to be a little silly. They're in the same building. They made almost like it was via satellite. But they're cutting promos backstage that they put these guys in separate rooms. It's like to separate them so they don't attack each other. I just found this to be bullshit, basically. I was like, oh, fuck this. Just do something with them in the back. Start interview them, have them have a big brawl. They were separating them when Joe found Brock in the little room. He walks like 10 feet and he finds Brock in an adjacent room. I was just like, that's what they did. They just put these guys in separate parts of the building. I mean, okay, so what was stopping Joe before the interview for looking for Brock? I mean, there was some good verbiage here. I liked, like I said, Joe seemed more, impassioned here. Like I said, he didn't, he actually showed some emotion in his face, which was different for Joe. He actually pushed a second dimension to his character. He seemed more third dimensional, I could say. Instead of being so one dimensional and stone faced all the time, and I'm gonna make you tap out, the same shit he's been doing since Ring of Honor. So, I liked it, but I was just confused by this approach of booking this. Like, this is what they do right before the pay per view. Just put them in two little separate rooms. I mean, like, to me, that just seemed dumb. Like, first of all, like I said, once again, turning this on, if you haven't watched in years, to check it out, you're just gonna be like, what the fuck are they doing? Like, why is this exciting? Why is this entertaining? Watching two guys split screen is not fun to watch. It's just like, average stuff. I mean, right? We're supposed to get excited for a match. It's supposed to be an exciting match that everybody. It's a dream match. You know, and we're split screening these guys. Not That's not really the best way to go about booking a big match where these guys are about to tear their heads off. First of all, they're trying to go for the same thing that they do with Undertaker or Brock Lesnar with the big brawls and stuff, but Joe is obviously not Undertaker, and not even 10 Samoa Joes would equal up to an Undertaker. Not even fucking 20 Samoa Joes would equal to an Undertaker. So that approach, they needed to do more with Joe, and split screen and impassioned promo are not enough. Neville defeated Ali Mustafa. Like, I look, like I said, from week to week, I look at Neville, I look at Mustafa, and isn't Neville supposed to have a match with the Japanese dude, Akazawa, whatever the hell his name is? Well, where was he? Is he having a match? There was nothing leading up to that. The announcers might have mentioned it. I wasn't even really paying attention. Like I said, Neville is great. This Mustafa guy, like, why am I caring about him? This Neville has so much charisma. Look at the man's face as he's applying his finisher. This guy's got more passion and more character in his face. And also, when this guy talks with his accent, he sounds like a star. He looks like a star. He is a star. They're wasting his time wrestling guys like Ali Mustafa. Like, that's a jobber right there. That's a guy that's not going to go anywhere, obviously. Maybe he could go somewhere, but, he probably would need a lot of help, and it would take good writing and booking, which they can't have. But if we're going off of natural charisma and right off the bat, guys that look good and they seem like they have, that can do way more than what they're given, that would definitely be Neville. So then you had Bray Wyatt cutting a promo in the middle of the desert, and they should do way more of this with Bray. The change of scenery, instead of having him just in some, undisclosed location, like in some with a black backdrop. It was nice to see him in a desolate location like a desert. I thought that was awesome. Just hearing, Bray cut a, pretty decent promo, but it was more the scenery. I was looking at it with the cactuses and the scorpions and the whole way it was shot. I like that, and we should have more of that. Like I said, it gets so boring that they do the same thing with Bray. He's just in the dark room half the time. I mean, it just looks like he's shooting it in the fucking closet half the time. That's like what they would, something interesting like they would do with the Shield. They would have their own camera, but, it was like the same thing over and over again. Change the location, change the backdrop, interview them somewhere else. Like I said, this is not Bray. He doesn't do backstage interviews, which is also something interesting when you really think about it. The guy's never done a normal backstage interview. I guess it plays into his character. It would be hard to get an interview with him because he's so weird, I suppose. But when they do interviews with everybody else in promos, Why do they have to be standing in front of the Raw logo at all times to advertise the show you're watching? Like, do something different. Interview them when they arrive in the building, when they've still got their bag with them. Just do something a little bit different to, because seeing the same thing over and over is just fucking tiresome and stale. I'm not saying it would improve the show, but it would make things seem a bit more fresh, don't you think? Just to see something a little bit different from time to time. Then up next, I was cracking up at these YouTube comments. Fuckboy Balor beats Cesaro. The fanboys on the YouTube video, they're like, "Oh, WWE throwing away a pay-per-view quality match." Like, are you serious? First of all, there's no more pay-per-views, knuckleheads. It's all on the network anyway. And all these matches we've had that are pay-per-view quality, like, Roman Reigns and Samoa Joe, like I said, they could have had a massive storyline, but they failed with that already. It could have been like, the Samoan who's not a part of the Samoan family, he's not even from Samoa, versus the one with the whole lineage. That could have been a pay-per-view quality match, a dream match. They're calling this a dream match. Whose dream match is this? I don't know about you guys. I know you like to dream of fuckboy Balor all the time. Oh, he's so good in the ring. Is he now? I mean, every single time I see Balor, I see the same bullshit from this guy. Doing a dive to the outside, doing an enziguri. What else does this guy do that's so great? I mean, and he is so bland and boring. Like, look at him. He's just wearing black boots and black tights. Who does that sound like? Stone Cold, but Stone Cold had a look to him, had natural charisma. A guy like fuckboy Balor needs all the help he could get. And meanwhile, this guy's talking about, "Oh, I love wearing my leather jacket. I don't even want to wear the paint." You need the paint, and not only do you need that, you need way more. And you could also see in these matches, the fans are not even into this guy anymore. Like I said, it's the same thing with Enzo and Cass. These fanboys clamor for these guys to be brought in onto the main roster. They say how they're the best things ever. And then when they finally get there after a couple of months, these guys don't even care about them anymore. They give up on them. And, I can't say that they're doing exciting things with them, but, it doesn't even look like the fans even enjoy seeing him. This is just a bland match. What does Balor even have to do with these other guys? I don't get it. So, Samson is that, tries to do a distraction. And, it's not even like Balor even loses because of the distraction of Samson. Imagine if Samson hit Balor with the guitar in the back when he was coming off the ropes. That would be heat on Samson. Instead, it's, "Oh, well, Balor wins anyway because that's what the fans want. That's what the marks want." I mean, like, and everyone meanwhile is talking about this being a throwaway dream match. This is not a dream match, people. Whose dream match is this? It's not mine. I don't sit around all day when Raw happens. "Oh, I hope they have Fuckboy versus Cesaro." What? No. Anyway, backstage, they're going to have a 30-minute Iron Man match with the Hardys and Cesaro. They already had a 30-minute 2 out of 3 falls match, which, when you kind of think about it, is almost the same thing. Now they're going to wrestle them for another fucking 30 minutes. Again, it's like Ambrose and Miz. How long has this feud been going on? Like I said, I like all 4 guys, but damn. And, like the Hardys were commentating during this match, and, you have a little brawl after. But I don't know. It's like I'm not feeling this feud at all. And plus, doesn't that feel like a step down? After the cage match, they're having an Iron Man match, which is, like, it seems like they booked that backwards. Shouldn't the cage match be the last resort to settle the feud, not an Iron Man match? I'm not saying it's not going to be a good match. We've got some good talent involved, but like, what are they doing with the Hardys? I said this for months now since they came back at Mania. I feared that they were going to be just another tag team on the roster. And I am listening to Matt Hardy on commentary. They're not even making him sound like Broken Matt anymore. And I understand there's a lawsuit and everything, but for God's sakes, could they do something with these guys to not, like Jeff Hardy was a champion. Before he left this company, they had the world belt on him. And now they're just hanging around again in the tag team scene, not really doing anything, not really accomplishing anything. They're just like there, just it's like they feel like a novelty act. Now, they still feel a little bit more important than the Dudleys, but it's not really a big difference. It feels like, this is the Hardy Boys. This is one of the biggest draws that they had, like in 2000, the Hardys were super popular. The massive pops that these guys would get when they would come out on Raw or SmackDown, they would be like, stunning. And now it's just like, oh, it's the Hardys, they're back. I mean, they got to get that fire back, that passion. And TNA hit on it, Jeremy Borash with this great character, in these great segments with the Broken Hardys. And, now it's just like they just feel like just another tag team. And I do not want them to feel like the best things since sliced bread, Gallows and Anderson. I mean, oh my God, I do not want them to feel that cookie cutter. And they are definitely starting to feel that way. Then in the main event, this is a main event, right? Braun Strowman versus Apollo Crews. I can't even believe I'm saying that. A squash match in the main event of Raw. Wow. What a main event. Okay, so there was a little bit more to it than that. I forget, Strowman gives Apollo Crews like 3 power slams. There was I like this little spot they did where Crews actually gets Strowman down and then he goes for a standing moonsault and like with one leg Strowman kicks him and he goes flying. I love how Crews sold that, so credit to him. That looked hilarious, and it looked awesome at the same time. But then Titus gets in the ring. He challenges Braun. I forget who Braun threw into the back of the ambulance. I think it was Titus. Throws him into the back. He taps on the back of the ambulance. The ambulance is not going, so he checks in on who the driver is. And now it's Roman Reigns, and Roman attacks him and he spears him right off the ramp. I still can't get over how that ramp is like 3 feet, but still, I mean, it was a good way to go off the air. You had Roman getting his heat back on him. I would have liked to see a little bit more of Braun. I would like to see more of what they hit on an earlier episode of Raw, like a couple of months back, where Strowman was going on mad tears in the back. That I'd like to see a lot more of that, more of him being a monster. Like, the thing is, what's crazy about the show is you've got 3 hours to work with, and they're not doing nearly enough with these guys. Like I said, it's the same structure each show. Match, promo, match. It's the same god thing one time after another. And they need to fucking change it already. How tiresome is it? You've got great potential here. It's not like they don't have stars to work with. They've got plenty. They just don't know how to book these guys and how to write for them. So, I still can't get over looking back on this show. The best idea that they could come up with before a big match with Joe and Brock. And also you got to think about that. So the last thing you see is not even the World Championship match. It's just a grudge match with Strowman and Roman. That's how we go off the air. What about the world title? Shouldn't that be what ends the show? And meanwhile, they've just got these guys backstage in the split screen. What a fucking mess that is. I mean, when you really think about it, you've got Brock Lesnar there at the arena, and the most creative thing you could think of doing is putting them split screen. Now, like I said, I enjoyed the promos, but this is right before the pay-per-view. This is their last chance to do something with these characters, and that's the best they could do. Yeesh. Okay. Anyway, guys, have a happy 4th. There's your Raw review. Until next time.